to get in before we get started.
Awesome.
All right, so let's get started. Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are today. My name is Shauna Thompson. I am the Director of Mental Health and Wellness, and I want to welcome all of you to today's Ask an Expert session. So just so you know, you're able to ask questions through our Q&A tab. So at the bottom of your screen, you'll see that. So at any time during this presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free just to select that and type in your questions, and we can answer them live. So today we have with us Iram Tanvir, and she is our expert. Iram is a marketing and strategy professor here at Yorkville University. She is a mother, a startup consultant, a mentor, and a motivational speaker. She is the developer of the self-help model, individual, reinvention, and actualization method, IRAM. Iram earned her Master of Science in Marketing from the Johns Hopkins University and MBA from ComStats University. She is also leading the on-campus business incubator here at Yorkville University in Toronto. And she has a passion for helping individuals to live a life of hope, happiness, and actualized potential. So I'm very pleased to welcome today Iram Tanvir.
Thank you so much, Shauna. Hi, everyone. Very glad to be here. Very glad to be sharing these things with you. So just to begin this, I was very, very nervous yesterday before doing the session, thinking the title, Ask an Expert. For a very long time, I've been questioning myself, like, am I an expert? And the answer was, I'm pretty much an expert in terms of being at peace with myself and having a very fulfilled life in terms of relationships. And the purpose of today's session, as Shauna said, is it is primarily to help people navigate through their internal self and going a bit into what helped me break out of a lot of the baggage that I carried. And the thing I want to start with is if any one of you have watched Kung Fu Panda. So in Kung Fu Panda, they show that panda, very cute little panda, and I'm matching the color with him, just trying to be cute here. So in Kung Fu Panda, the panda is trying to climb up the stairs. And as he's doing that, he's carrying a lot of baggages with him. So the interesting thing about baggage, and we all know that, and we all lead a life with baggage in one way or another. The interesting thing is we a lot of time believe that those baggages are very much external, or they have been given to us, which is true, partly, because a lot of times the baggages that we carry, they're actually the result of choices that we make. So if I choose to carry a baggage, only then I'm going to carry a baggage. So a lot of time when we're navigating through our emotions, one of the things that I've noticed, or one of the things that I've experienced in my life is, it is very much a choice whether to carry a baggage or not to. And the baggages could be any. Could be a social pressure, could be a pressure on the way you should look, could be a pressure on how an ideal personality should be, or how should a girl feel like. And that is where probably what I would like to start my story with. So for me, my story began, I was born. So that's where it began. I was born to a wonderful, wonderful woman. And my father passed away in a car accident when I was 2 years old, a little under 2 years old, and my father and my sister. And we came to live with my grandparents. And now the place where I was raised, it's a very small city. Now getting the urban touch to it, but you can call it urban rural city. And that's where my beginning was. But the good thing that happened to me there was I was raised by these two incredible women, one very, very patient, and two, the second one, which was my grandma, very patient, and the second one who was a fighter, not in terms of arguing, but fighter in terms of taking life very heads on. So two very, very different women. And then a group of men, my grandfather, very strong, my three uncles, very, very strong personalities, but all of them had their different strengths. So my journey has been very strongly influenced by the love I got from all of them. And keep in mind, being an orphan, I received a lot of love, and I was raised in a very protected manner. And being protected, and a lot of you who have ever been protected, you would realize that being protected, you get all this unconditional love. And when you are brought to the word generally is not as loving and kind as other things. So for me, for a very, very long time, the culture I was raised, I always thought I did not fit into the ideal or even the average looking girl. So I always had this fear of not being fair enough, not being lean enough, not having the right hair, not having the right looks, and not, because I was very shy. I never talked. I know people here who know me would probably be like, ah. So starting, I wasn't a very talkative person. And I still remember my report cards would say, she is shy. Well, yeah, that's how I was. And it did not change for a very, very long time. I went to Johns Hopkins, and for a very long, I did my master's, my MBA first. Thought, well, it was probably by chance. Went to Hopkins, a big name, very reputable, and I super duper loved that place and I respect it. Again, thought it was probably by chance. Developed the personal transformation method that Shauna just talked about, and that was a game changer for me, partly, and I'm going to come to that how. So for a very long time, I lived that life of not accepting myself, not accepting the strengths. So a lot of us carried that baggage because we never accept ourselves as ourselves. So for me, what changed the game was the day I gave birth to a child who happened to be a girl. And that was a game changer for me. So what changed me was I was now able to accept myself better. I was able to accept my complexion. I was able to accept my inability to talk very well. I was able to accept that I could be clumsy. I was able to accept my weight. So I was able to accept so many things that I wasn't able to before, only because now I had one more person added to the equation, a person who I thought could lead. So one of the things that worked for me was identifying that person who I'm able to leave. So for a lot of you, one tip would be find that one person. It could be your younger brother, it could be your younger sister, it could be anyone outside, it could be a pet, it could be anyone. Use that person and put yourself there and see that person would be looking up to you, and that would help you get to the best of your potential. Starts with acceptance. So that is one thing that I wanted to communicate, and one tip. The second thing that I would like to mention here is I've mentioned my weight. So here's what happened with my weight. So throughout, that is something I carried with me. So I did two things to myself. One, I always thought that, oh my God, I cannot do it. I cannot do it because I've tried it so many times and I failed. So one, I couldn't do it. Two, I was fat. And three, now the pressure added from the society. And four, the failure. So all of it was there. And what helped me cut through that And I'm not saying carrying weight is good or healthy or whatnot. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is what helped me reduce whatever I reduced during these COVID times or during this bit of time. And I think I've lost 30 pounds or so during these COVID times. And I'm happy, I'm doing good. But what helped me was asking myself the right question. So a lot of times when we look at situations, we look at we look at answers. But answers not necessarily will give you the right answer. A lot of times, these are the questions you ask yourself that help you accept yourself. So let me shift a vision. This is the conversation I remember I had with myself, because I thought I've achieved quite a bit in my life. I've come very far. I've come from a divorce, not from a very healthy relationship. And that is probably one of the reasons I put up with the relationship, because I thought I wasn't worthy of it. I thought I wasn't worthy of respect. And all these things are the things that contribute to who you are. So here's the conversation I had with myself. The question I asked myself was, okay, so you're looking at a person who was born in this situation, raised in this, got the love from all these wonderful men and women, then made it through, went through a very hard time in terms of relationship, put up with all this with a lot of dignity, and this, while doing that, struggle with the weight. The question is, what would you recommend to that person? Would you tell that person to quit and never do that? Or would you tell that person to keep doing till the time you get it, because that's the only thing that you haven't got so far? And these are the right questions you sometimes ask yourself that would change the way you look at yourself, the way you respect yourself, the way you accept yourself, because respect would only come once you accept. And the thing is, it is easy to accept your child. It's easy to accept others, but it's generally not easy to accept yourself. Why? Because of what they said, right? So you can't solve a situation if you're in the same mindset. Going back to the same idea, you are in your mindset. So the monkey sitting there is controlling you. You have to step out of it and look at yourself as an individual and ask yourself two questions. Is this individual worthy for love? Is this individual worthy for giving one more try? And a lot of times, and you would love this about yourself, we are generally kind people most of the times. And you would love it. A lot of time, the answer you get is a yes. You are very much worthy. You are very much worthy of respect, worthy of love, and much more than that. And that is what brings me to another point. So we've talked about the failures, I talked about the acceptance. One more thing that's attached to the acceptance before I go further is, once you accept, the day you completely embrace yourself is the day you start living. I remember growing up, I think the very first time I put a lipstick on was in my MBA, and I was 22 years old or 3, and I never put a lipstick on because I thought I would look ugly. And again, the complexion and all the fears that I have. From that time to what I am now, I think I'm like, oh, I remember Rihanna counted once. I had like 18 lipsticks at that time, in a given time, and that was just in my bag. And don't hate me for this. I love colors. So make sure the things you love, you hold them close to you. You don't put 18 lipstick. Don't even try that. You're going to look like a palette. So, and not that you guys are going to try that, but just saying it. Given someone with me, I've dyed my hair in different colors, because that was the day I realized I've got a big blessing in form of my child. I've got a roof over my head. I'm earning. I've got family, and I'm at a lot of peace with myself. And there is going to be no perfect day. So I make sure every day I spend, I make it count for myself, and I make it count for people in my life. Because end of the day, there will be no perfect day and there will be no perfect relationship. You would have to be there, and you have to constantly work on it. Another thing that really helped me was what happened to me once was I remember I was talking to a friend of mine when I was in a college, and not friend, an acquaintance. And that day I won good, because they had once a year prize distribution ceremony. And I won 15 to 18 prizes. I don't exactly remember. And I went to her and I was happy, not boastful, just happy. And she said, "Whoa, so did you go and pray and said thank you?" I said, "No, I just said thank you, but I did not pray." And she said, "Well, do you think you are bigger than God?" Now that one thing was something that hurt me to a point where I was in pain, which wasn't true. And it was just an irresponsible comment, but probably that she made. Not that she probably intended something, but just an irresponsible comment that a lot of people make sometimes. But that put me in a lot of pain. Almost after 2 days, I remember I sat down and I was meditating, and I actually prayed that day and I meditated. And out of that pain, one of the things that came to my mind was, and I'm sorry if it's being noisy. Sorry, is it noisy? Is it a noisy background? You guys must be able to hear it. No? Okay, sure. So one of the things I did that day was a game changer for me. When I was praying, I said, well, God, because we call Allah, so I'm a Muslim. So the amount of pain that this human has inflicted on me, I forgive her because it was a bit too much of what she did. And that very moment, the amount of peace I got, it was like I relieved myself of suffering. And since then, the thing that really helped me was forgiving. And it showed up in so many ways. Now, because I was forgiving, why? I was giving myself account, but that wasn't the idea at that time. I was forgiving because I thought the God who created me has been very kind, and this person is a person who created and is dear to him. I know the person made a mistake, but that's different. And I forgave the person, so the person doesn't have to go through whatever because of me at any point in time or whatever, given my own belief system. So that thing relieved me. And moving forward, that became easier to forgive, because every time you forgive, you would feel that it takes your suffering off of you. It helps people become more vulnerable because now they know they will be forgiven. They know they can be their real self. And then you actually tend to associate better. You tend to love better. You tend to love deeper because now you're looking at a different spectrum. Sure, Shauna, one more minute, and that's important, and I promise I'm going to let you go. And then the last thing here is, second last thing, love without reason, because when you love people for reason, and I don't mean love, I mean love and other love. So we all make relationships. For a very long time, I was introduced as a child saying, she's a very loving child. And I was like, what kind of introduction is it? People say, well, she's very smart. She gets this much of grades and all this. For me, it was loving. And I did not realize we all have our superpowers. And for my superpower was probably love. I was able to make connections. And that is why I'm here today. That is why probably you guys have me today. That is why students sign up for my courses, because they pass beyond the judgment. So make sure you understand your superpowers are sometimes things that you think are very tiny, but they are not. They bring you to a long distance. And when I said the last thing, my last thing would be here. And that is, if there's something you did not get, because we all don't get everything, make sure you start giving it. And that would help you subside the pain. At the same time, would start bringing things back to you. Sorry, Shauna, go ahead, please.
Oh, no, you're fine. So just a question, because you mentioned earlier that you were able to overcome the shyness. So could you please share with us some things that you found that have helped you along the way in terms of overcoming that?
A couple of things. First thing was, I remember I was a very shy person. the day I started my girls' college, and that was when I was in, that was a different college in grade 13. So when I started that, I realized going on the very first day, I had no friends. I did not know anyone. So the idea of fake it until you make it actually works. So in my head, this was me, the introvert Iram, and going there thinking, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, so many people, sure. No, I'm confident. I'm confident. I can do this. I can do this. Till the point it actually started resonating. The second thing was visualization. I always visualized myself, and visualize means that was a dream. It was probably a dream that was so real that I actually wanted to communicate. I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to be there, not just to get attention. Attention was very much secondary, but because I wanted to make friends, genuine friends. So for that, I always used to visualize that I would be there and I would be talking to people. And I would be there one day standing on the stage, delivering a speech. Well, I did have 1 year and I, as I said, a lot of prizes. And since then I'm talking. So that's another thing. Third thing, asking myself one question. Who is there? Well, a lot of time, humans. That's the answer most of the time. And a lot of humans, once you realize that, like today, as I said, I was nervous. But before coming, and I was nervous because one, how am I going to fit the content in this given time? Two, this particular content talks about a lot of my personal life things. Three, because looking at all this, I was like, sure, going on YouTube, oh my God. Well, I've always been there. I mean, why would you be nervous? So the questions that you ask yourself are a lot of, and that's what they say about fear in the researches. They say, well, fear is something that is only 2% of it is valid. Rest of the 98% you carry with you. So that is another thing. And the last thing that can help you is, for me, what helped me was my faith. It's like, I'm here and I'm responsible for this thing that I know. So I will do my best. The judgment does not matter to me. I'm here because I'm there to do my best. And that is what my purpose is. Nothing more.
Okay, thank you. And just a reminder to everyone that you can type your questions in the Q&A. It's located at the tab at the bottom of your screen. So our next question is, someone asked if you could elaborate on the point you made when you said, what you are not getting, start giving.
So first thing, imagine for a minute, you are going through, I've been through very tough times in my life, and I bet all of you have. In general, let's suppose you're going through a relationship and you know you're just not getting it. You know this is not the way you want yourself to be treated. Or imagine for a minute, and that's what I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. We were talking that while we were growing up, we always thought there's going to be this one man who would walk into your life, the Prince Charming, all those Disney movies. So there can be one person with a rose and, bingo, nothing happened. I mean, you get people, but not exactly what you think. So one of the things I would do in that way would be, if I am not getting that, I would create a situation where you would probably start writing. I would always wanted my child to write a love letter to me. I created one of the things that became very famous here in Yorkville University, when the students wrote love letter to their moms. And the amount of happiness it gave me, trust me, does, for my child, she's very little. And she probably is never going to do that because it's not a norm anymore. So I know and I accept it that way. But then the amount of love you get, the same way you love someone, you have a choice. You can wait till the time person gets to you, or you can give the person and you have to be very vulnerable. You have to be courageous. You know it's probably not going to work. That's what they say in, what's her name? Dr. Brene Brown. In her book, in her research, vulnerability, the courage to give what you don't have. And the third aspect is, and that is more on the other side of it, and which is gratitude and coming with sharing. So you generally can, if, for example, you have $20, $20 a month is a very small amount. Share the 50 cents and you will see it will start coming back, and the amount of happiness it gives you. And there's this very big element of de-associating yourself with others, because now you're in control. Now you think you own that thing because now you're giving it. You are in a position to give. Automatically, it subsides the pain, puts you in a peace. So keep in mind, peace is much better than happiness. Happiness is a feeling, it's a pleasure, it's a thrill you get. A lot of times the pain, when it hits, the thrill settles down, but there are very few things. I'm very lucky, and God has been very kind to me. There are very few things that change, that disrupt my happiness and my peace, and it is because you constantly work on that. Control the amount of information you put in your system. It's like I put wrong stuff in my system, I would bloat. You put wrong information in terms of your company or the content you watch or the content you hear, everything would add up. So start giving and you will start getting, and it would give you a lot of peace.
Thank you. And so just in response, the person who asked that question said, yes, that exposing one's vulnerability can really be something. Courage is required. And they thanked you for that response. So another question is, how do I recognize my strengths and begin to work on them?
I get this question a lot. Here's what I do with my students a lot of times. Start writing. Start writing, that was exactly what I went through. So and I did two things. When I created this thing, Iram, individual reinvention and actualization method, the first step talks about it. And if time allows and all this, I'm going to author a book on that as well. Very simple couple of things. Start writing all the good things you have. All the good things. Don't think it's small or big. Just write. And then leave it for a day. Come back and look at it the next time. And then see, is it worth admiring this person who has these many strengths? And most of the time, the answer would be yes. The only thing you have to keep in mind is we, a lot of time, are much more judgmental about ourselves than not. And being judgmental would actually take the love aspect out of it. So make sure you understand, you don't have to judge yourself all the time. I find I generally, the profession I come from, I teach, like a lot of you, judgment or judging is a part of it. Grading is a part of it, but then that's a very conscious effort you do every time to make sure you understand that you don't do it. All the things I'm saying, they would be hard choices, but they become easy when you keep doing it, and they're very much worth it.
Okay, so the next question here, someone is asking about how really to live in the moment and enjoy things rather than planning too far ahead.
That's a wonderful question. So one of the things that helps is counting your blessings. Let's take an example. So we're all locked in here with COVID. COVID was probably, and I don't mean any disrespect to anyone, it was probably the best times of my life. Because not probably, it is the best time of my life. And why? Because when everyone was locked in, here's what I was thinking. As I said, I was thinking I have a roof over my head. I am with my child. I have my family that's safe. I have I have the food that I want to cook. I have health, I have time. All this is something I should be grateful for. And when you are grateful, that particular moment, it would help you realize that, oh my God, I'm here. And that very moment is the moment you want to embrace. I generally go with my daughter. Like it was just yesterday, we were shopping at, returning something at Costco. And we came outside and there was this bench and we sat there, and that was probably the best moment, looking at the sparrow and calling it a crow. It's just so beautiful. It's just that sometimes it takes time. Sometimes, and I would take you back to to Kung Fu Panda. So, and the turtle, and I'm sorry, I forgot the name. I'm going to remember the name in a few minutes. And he said, well, it's hard for you to see through things when the surface is trembling. So you got to be there, let it settle down, and then you would realize conscious effort. It comes with time, it comes with practice. Small little thing, meditation is a big thing that would help. Make it a routine. Make it a routine to praise yourself and all the good things you do. Make it a routine to ask yourself question, how bad can it get? And do plan for the future. It's beautiful, but do live in the moment. That was a very good question, by the way. And it comes with practice. I don't want to say it doesn't, but it does come with practice, but it's very much achievable.
So we are running out of time, and we did have a question here that came up in the chat. So this is the last one that we'll have time for. And the person was
asking, Katie also had a question.
Yes, so please. The person was asking about what was your actual breaking point? So what was it that caused you to realize you needed to start accepting and forgiving yourself?
So accepting and forgiving myself, or what was my breaking point?
Well, all of the above were included in the question.
So they were different at different times, but my breaking point has still not achieved yet, has still not arrived yet. I think I moved beyond that point very quickly. One of the things that helped me was, I think God has, one very, very interesting thing was, I've always been loved very unconditionally by my family. So I internalized that love a lot. And when there were points, and it was a very tough time when I was going through my divorce, my Hopkins education helped me a lot as well. I sat down, I took a step back, and that is one thing I would say. Take a step back, put a pause to your life every now and then. And that is so very important. Every now and then, take a step back, disengage yourself from whatever is going on, and take a step back and say, where is it going? Is it worth it? The path I'm walking, does it have a purpose? You have to live a meaningful life. There has been this current one, and okay, let me share that. Okay, I never thought I'm going to be sharing it, but there you go. So this current change that I felt was right before the COVID time, when I thought, so there is going to be that person, bingo. I think the person came and left and nothing happened, there you go. So that was the time when I realized, it was like, holy. So I think I didn't go through a very strong emotional up and down. And that is when I realized probably, well, Iram, wake up. You have a life of your own and you're very good on your own. And that was the moment for me when everything goes on the side. And then you realize the thing you have been holding on to was actually nothing to begin with. A lot of it is just what you carry in your head. So the day you are sick and you enter into the TTC, everything looks, it's so hard. The day you're okay, everything looks okay. So a lot of times is what we carry here, not what the reality is. So, and that is where you start embracing yourself as who you are. And for me, that was the point when I got grounded and say, hey, that's okay. Let's take it heads on one more time to life and let's go. And I think I've achieved, I've come a very long way. And that is why I think I've been able to take care of my weight as well and all this. So that was one thing.
All right, well, thank you so much, Iram. We've run out of time, but we sincerely appreciate this discussion, everything that you've shared, and as someone mentioned, being so vulnerable and open with us. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity.
And thank you to all of you, all of the participants who joined us today in this session. And we hope that you will continue to join us as we will have our sessions same time every week on a Friday for Ask an Expert. And next week, our expert will be Dr. Glenn Gelman, and he'll be talking about burnout and compassion fatigue. So please join us again. Take care, everyone, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you for all the kind words that I'm seeing here. I'm honored.